Is getting a marriage-based green card harder now in 2025? We're going to answer that in today's video, so make sure to stick around. Hey everybody, U.S. immigration lawyer Michael Ashoori here, and as I mentioned earlier, in today's video, we're going to be answering the question, is it harder to get a marriage-based green card now in 2025? And as a spoiler alert, the answer is yes. And again, in today's video, we're going to go through several reasons why. I think you're going to get a lot of good value here, so make sure to stick around until the end. As an initial procedural matter, one thing that is important to note is that there are new forms for the marriage-based green card application. There's a new form I-130. Additionally, for those applicants that are applying for an adjustment of status from within the United States, there's a new adjustment of status form, basically an updated form I-485. And it's very important that you use the current version of the form I-130 or the form I-485 when you're filing your case, because if you file your case with outdated forms, then that application will be rejected and sent back to you, and you'll have to refile with the correct versions of the forms. So that's an important note to be aware of at the outset. The second thing is that USCIS has some more strict requirements about the types of documents that need to be submitted initially. For example, USCIS now wants the medical exam, the form I-693, to be submitted at the time the adjustment of status application is submitted. So those are some initial procedural things to be aware of. Now, moving on, it also seems that USCIS is now more strictly adjudicating these marriage-based green card petitions. And what I mean by that is that USCIS wants to see more strong evidence proving that the marriage is bona fide, meaning that at the time the marriage was entered into, it was to build a life together, not just to secure immigration benefits for somebody. So again, USCIS appears to be adjudicating these cases more strictly and requiring more documentation to demonstrate a bona fide marriage. Documentation like joint bank accounts, photographs together, evidence of consistent ongoing communication with one another, travel itineraries demonstrating travel together, other types of joint accounts together, and photographs of your wedding, and so on and so forth. Just evidence documenting the bona fide nature of the marriage is highly important given the increased scrutiny that we're seeing. Additionally, we're seeing more instances, and we're hearing about more instances of requests for evidence, also called RFEs, and notices of intent to deny. NOIDs. Again, a request for evidence is a request made by USCIS to provide more evidence about a particular question that they have or a particular area of confusion that they may have about the case. And this can cause delays in an immigration case to have to prepare a response and respond to these requests and to have USCIS review your response and then ultimately get back to you. This can essentially cause more work and delays in a marriage-based green card case. So that's something to be aware of. Now what we're seeing is that basically all marriage-based green card cases are subject to an immigration interview, whether it's done in the United States via an adjustment of status or whether it's done abroad during the immigrant visa interview. So in the previous administration, we were seeing several instances of interview waivers for people that were applying for a marriage-based green card from within the United States through an adjustment of status. Again, we were seeing several instances where when the couple provided ample documentation demonstrating that the marriage was real, by documentation, and USCIS was adequately convinced that the marriage was bona fide based on the documents that were submitted, we were seeing many instances of immigration interviews being waived. Now, we are not seeing instances of interview waivers. It seems that all marriage-based green card applications are subject to the immigration interview. So that's another area where we're seeing that the marriage-based green card process is harder than it has been in the recent past. So while we're discussing interviews, I want to explain another reason why these immigration cases appear to be harder now in 2025. Well, in addition to seeing more instances of needing to go to an immigration interview, we're seeing and we're hearing about instances of these marriage-based green card interviews taking longer. The interviews themselves appear to be lasting longer, and it appears that immigration officers are asking more in-depth, challenging questions as part of the marriage-based interview process. Additionally, and something that appears to be a source of major concern is that we're hearing about instances or greater instances of Stokes interviews. Now, what is a Stokes interview, you might be asking? A Stokes interview is where the immigration officer separates the parties and interviews each person separately to compare the answers to determine whether there's some sort of marriage fraud. Usually, an immigration officer will conduct a Stokes interview if they suspect marriage fraud. But with the increased instances of Stokes interviews that we're hearing about, it's not necessarily clear that these Stokes interviews are solely being conducted when marriage fraud is suspected, or whether there's more widespread use of Stokes interviews even when there isn't necessarily a suspicion of marriage fraud. So that's another area of concern and another reason why marriage-based green card cases may be harder now in 2025. Now, let's take it a step further. With more instances of immigration interviews and more strict adjudication requiring more instances of requests for evidence and, again, just a greater sense of scrutiny on these applications, that all adds up to slower processing times. So another thing that we're seeing is that processing times now are slower than what they were like in 2024, 2023. And if this trend continues, it's likely that 6 months from now, a year from now, processing times will continue to increase with this trend of increased interviews, increased scrutiny, etc. So that's another reason why these cases are more challenging. And taking it a step further, and something that is highly important to be aware of, is that it appears that now the consequences for a case denial are more severe than they have been in the past. Now, in the recent past, USCIS released a policy memo describing the instances where somebody could receive an NTA. An NTA is a notice to appear in immigration court, and this is a very serious matter because when somebody receives an NTA, it means that they're being instructed to appear in immigration court at a particular date and time to face removal proceedings to be ordered removed from the United States. And again, this policy memo that was released by USCIS explained various instances where somebody could receive an NTA, a notice to appear in immigration court, is if somebody gets a case denial for an immigration case and they are left in the United States without any sort of immigration status. That could be a basis to receive an NTA. So what that means is that in some cases, the consequences for a case denial for somebody that's applying for a marriage-based green card can be more severe. There you have it. We just went through several reasons why it appears that marriage-based green cards are harder now in 2025 than they have been in the past. So in light of what we talked about in today's video, what can you do to protect yourself? Well, if you're considering applying for a marriage-based green card, it's extremely important to present a strong, well-documented case. You want to make sure to include all the proper supporting documentation with your case. You want to make sure to include the correct filing fees. You want to make sure that you're using the correct version of the forms that are required and that you're submitting payment in the correct way. And basically, first and foremost, you want to make sure that you're submitting the strongest case possible to improve your chances of success. The second thing is you want to make sure to not underestimate the importance of the immigration interview. This is a very important step in the overall process of securing a marriage-based green card, and it's very important that you're well prepared and you understand what to expect and you go in to the interview that you're well prepared and that you give yourself the best chances of having a successful interview. So that brings me to my last point here. Now, with various immigration applications, it's not necessarily required that you work with an immigration lawyer, but working with a qualified immigration lawyer can really help you. And the reason why I say that is that a qualified immigration lawyer oftentimes will have filed hundreds of these cases and will have experience making sure that the correct documentation is included with your case. They can help you strategize the documentation necessary to present a stronger case to USCIS. Additionally, a qualified immigration lawyer can help prepare you on what to expect when it comes time for the immigration interview. There's various other things that a qualified immigration lawyer can do to help you. So again, there can be major benefits associated with working with a qualified immigration lawyer for your case. So there you have it. In this video, we covered various reasons why it's harder to get a marriage-based green card in 2025 than it has been in the past. And we talked about some things that you can do to help protect yourself. Now, I hope you got a lot of value here. If you know anybody that can benefit from this video, please feel free to share this video with them. We're all about empowering you with knowledge. So the more people that can benefit from this information, we definitely want them to see this video. If you liked the video, please make sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you're not yet a subscriber, make sure to hit that subscribe button so that you're in the loop with all the videos that we're posting. As always, thank you so much for tuning into this video, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.